Right. The number of things, I think we have very good contributions. I think the one is, as a coach yourself, how is your state of emotion? So if you are too much committed into what the coachee is thinking about, feeling about, maybe emotionally you are not going to be a good coach. Same thing if the coachee is also very emotionally unstable, may not be a good time also. Right? So that's it. Some of the answers over here. If you want the coachee to learn about himself or herself. So coaching is not teaching. Coaching, we are not giving answers. Coaching is like, the old story is if you give a person a fish, right? You feed them for a day. You teach the person to feed to do fishing, then you feed them for a lifetime. So coaching is more like getting the person to think about and come to their own conclusion, decision, and you are not giving your solution. So why we don't give solutions? Just now we mentioned people don't like to be told what to do. People like to have their own way of thinking and decide what they want to do. That's one part. The other thing is that you may not know fully what's going on with that person. Right? So your suggestion may work for you, but may not really work for the other person. And so you don't give suggestions because it's based on your point of view. The other thing is that you may not know what's going on the ground. So that person may actually have their own ideas of what can be done, what cannot be done. So these are some of the reasons why we don't want to give solutions, at least not want to give solutions immediately. Sometimes if you're a manager, your subordinate, the team member asks for you for advice, you can do some coaching, ask some questions. At some point you may want to share your experience, because after all, if you're an experienced manager, you have experience that is valuable. So you can share experience that the person can relate to, but you are not giving advice that the person should follow your experience. So let's say you have a staff, you have a team member who could not get along with someone else from another department. So you ask questions, find out what's happening, explore different options, and eventually it's like the staff is like getting nowhere, maybe not enough skills, don't have the exposure, don't have the experience also dealing with this kind of situation. So what I can do is to share the experience with the other person, things like, if I can share my experience, what I did last time was this is how I did it. If there's something you can learn from it, there's something that you can adapt to your situation, what is it that you can do? So I share experience and I ask the other person, what can you relate from my experience? I'm not saying that you should follow my way, it's just something that you can consider. Ultimately, the reason that we don't give the solution is so that if the solution comes out from the other person's point of view. Right? So if you tell me your solution, who is accountable for the solution? If you tell me, this is what you are going to do, instead of I tell you this is what you should do. So if you tell me what you are going to do, who is accountable for the final results? You are the person telling what to do, so it's up to you. So in that sense, coaching, when not to coach is if the person is very immature. The person refuses to have taking care of their own personal responsibilities. That is also not a good time to coach. Right? So emotional stability, readiness of the person, readiness of maturity emotionally, and so on. It's also a key factor. Also, if you are using coaching to boost continuous quality, that you can do. You can ask the person to reflect and come up with better solutions, how to improve quality. So that's good. When it's not too a time to coach, when time is too urgent, as some of us mentioned, when you don't have time. When simple things, you can just tell them in a few short words, this is what you need to do. Or it's an urgent thing. Or it's an issue relating to legal or company policy. These are rules, and you can't change rules. You cannot disobey rules. So this is not a time to coach. There's no room for negotiation. These are rules, and we follow rules, right? Or we cannot be not compliant. So there are certain times not to coach. But other than that, what we can do is we can explore different ways of coaching. This is one way of coaching. Usually we'll have another way of coaching. This is one way. When we approach a person, we can say that it's a topic that we can discuss. So what would you like to discuss? So we have a topic. It can be with certain situation, and we'll show the situation as we had yesterday. Right? The guy who is a self-learner, takes initiative to solve problems, don't like to work overtime, don't like to burn weekends, is not really keen on what we call promotions or pay rates. Right? This kind of employee, then we can find a topic, discuss a topic. At some point, ask that person what would be useful for you to take away by the end of our discussion. So coaching, we ask them questions. It's not about chit-chat. We would like to have some kind of actions. We would like to have some kind of deliverables. So we'll ask that person, so we're going to spend half an hour, 15 minutes, 1 hour. What is it that you would like to get away from our discussion? What is it that you would like to achieve? So that's, is there an outcome that we can have out of a specific session? Right, the complaint with many coaching sessions is that, the results are very slow. It takes a long time to achieve any kind of results. It depends on how you manage the results. It can be a long-term result. It can also be a short-term result. It can be a long-term big result. It can be a short-term something you can do on a daily basis. So what do you want to achieve at the end of the session? Right, however long it is. During the whole period, we ask powerful questions. We'll come to what is powerful questions as well. Listen actively. So it's about encouraging the other person to talk more. The whole exercises we did listen. Right? And also listening for what they did not say. All right. And to create awareness. So create awareness is are you aware of what they did not say, and are they aware of their inner thoughts and feelings? So to create awareness that maybe they have a better option that they did not know. Well, it's the same thing that we went through for the global listening. So are there some options that you are not aware of, that you missed it? Did you make any kind of subjective judgment or assumption? Right? Or what will be something that is important that you're not saying or you're not focusing? So these are the things just to get people to clarify their thoughts so that they make better decisions. So these are some things we explore with powerful questions. This is an actively create awareness. And last but not least, before the last one, how do you intend to move forward? It's not about chit-chat. We want to have some actionable plans. We want to know what you want to do about it, or what is the next step action. So next step action, and about the whole session, you can even ask the person for the feedback. So for the coaching that we have just now, what are some of your feedback to make it a better session the next time? So there can be two ways to ask for feedback. This is whole procedure. By the way, this is a methodology based in KL. Right, so if you look at for this company, JMC Consult, so they do coaching, what they call certification, right, in Damansara, KL. This is one of the methodologies which I find very useful for a single session. Now, if you are looking for a longer term, if you are looking for coaching to improve performance on a longer term basis, this will be a very popular coaching model. It's called GROW model. It's one of the most popular, actually the most popular coaching model ever used. So GROW stands for G is goals. So we are looking at longer term, so it can be 1 year. So if you are facing a salesperson, you can say we need to increase sales by 25% this year. What goals are you setting for your team to achieve this goal. We're looking at whole year, or it can be career, right? So, what is your career goal for the next 5 years? So, if you want to be manager after 5 years, what are some of the goals that you need to achieve? So again, one you can find this, looking at it from long term. And second part is you have a goal, you have somewhere in the future. The question is, where are you right now? Right, so this is reality. So it can be what are team members doing currently on the jobs, what are some of the gaps they currently have to reach optimal performance. So in the context of a career coach, it's not say, okay, 5 years time someone wants to be manager. So where are you now? How many years of experience do you have at the moment? What are the types of skill sets that you have right now? What are the skill sets that is required of a manager that you don't have right now? Okay, so these are some things about reality check, both the positive and the negative. So the reality. So it's if you look at the 7 dimensions earlier, reality. It's both look for the positives, address the concerns. Right? Both good and bad. So you have a goal. You have reality. What's next? What are the options do you have? So what options do you have to improve your team's effectiveness? If you are coaching someone who wants to be managing in 5 years, okay, so this is reality. You still have a huge gap. So what are the things you can do or you need to do? What are the options? Do you study? Do you go to different jobs? Do you rotate different roles? Do you take on projects? So these are different options that we can explore.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think that this coaching program,
Yes.
program of it should be formalized throughout the organization? So this should be on volunteer basis
Sure.
by each individual.
Sure.
SOE or the manager.
Right. Okay, the question is if you have a coaching, if you want to implement coaching for the whole organization, should it be a formal thing that we have a coaching program and this is how we go about doing it in a structured way? Or should it be more of a bottom-up as and when someone is coaching and then someone will volunteer as coach and coach someone else? And the answer is there is no clear answer. It really depends on the organization culture, depends on organization policy and so on. So the example I can think about is BMW in China. So it's a JV between BMW in Germany and one of the big Chinese state-owned companies in China. So they got a big plant producing BMW cars in China. What they did is they want to institute formal coaching, right, throughout the whole organization. And what they did is their CEO for China will go through the coaching and then will invite his direct reports and will do what we call coaching skills for managers program with him and his direct reports. And he, as CEO, will be the co-facilitator, co-instructor for the coaching program for the direct reports. And direct reports has to think about situations that they need to coach their next level, right? And then the whole workshop is being replicated for the next level. So the direct reports of the CEO will do the same thing, get their own direct reports, put into a room, do a coaching workshop. Now it's a direct report doing the direct reports as a co-facilitator and do a coaching workshop. It goes each level downwards. So for the CEO level, if they do this workshop, they'll invite some famous, top shot coaching instructor, coaching trainer to do the workshop for them. And then as it goes down, we go into more common coaching skills, instructors or trainers. Then it goes all the way down to frontline supervisors. And then the coaching trainers will be internal trainers. Right? So this is the goal. Every single level, and it's totally top down, very hierarchical, but at the same time, very formally put throughout the rest of the entire organization. So very formal, right? So, but is that the best way? We can't say that. It's just that It's just how they think. If they want to have coaching to be done by everybody every possible minute, then this is the way they roll out for the entire organization. Right? It's production, special production factory and all that. So and there are kind of a mixture between the both. Another company that we know is that again the China CEO went for coaching certification. Right, so coaching certification means you get a certificate. It's a whole long process. You need to attend at least 60 hours of workshop time, plus another 100 hours of coaching practice, and so on, before you can get the certification. So the CEO of China actually, and probably his one or two of his direct reports went together for a coaching certification, went out, but didn't go the BMW way of doing level cascading down. Just got external coaches to help with the internal coaching job, and also send a few more of the internal people to go for coaching certification as well. So as and when internally, if there's a need for coaching, they will look for, we have internal coaches, or is that a situation that an external coach would be better, and they will hire an external coach. Which brings to a question: when to use internal coach and when to use external coach?
The internal coach is a person that is a specific person that you coaching on it.
No, can be someone doing something else, but inside the same company. Yeah. It could be, sometimes it could be someone from HR also got a coaching certification, and whoever needs coaching, the HR can help out the coach. It can also be some senior managers in other departments, as long as that person has got time, will do coaching to someone else internally.
I guess if we were to wait for formal program to be,
Yeah, sure. Sure.
It takes some time.
Sure.
Personally, I would say if we have the patience,
Yes.
we will see that the activity, the coaching
Sure.
is could add value to us, could bring
Sure.
satisfaction
Sure.
to us.
Sure.
Other than monetary forms,
Yeah.
that your monthly
Mhm.
paychecks, you could find that if you impart some knowledge
Sure. Sure.
based on previous experience,
Mhm.
that itself is a source of satisfaction.
Yes.
Could do it on your own,
You absolutely can. Okay, back to the question of internal versus external coaches. Both the pros and cons is internal coaches knows everything that's going on in the company, which is good and bad. It's good because when it comes to you and you are the coach, before the person say anything, you know what's going on. Right, so there's a lot of contextual information that's there, so that you don't have to spend time understanding what's going on. You know really, right? And it is also a situation whereby as long as you've got time, the coaches got time to just make an appointment and then can go do the coaching. It can be face to face, it can be on the phone, it can be online, it can be 1 hour, it can be as short as half an hour, or even 15 minutes. Right, so the internal coaching is as and when both parties got time, you make your time to do the whole coaching, and that's it. So it's more convenient. But because internal coaches know everything that's going on in the company, so sometimes you make the wrong assumptions. Just you think you know, but you do not know. Number two, there's this thing about confidentiality in coaching. So what if the coachee is going to tell you something very confidential, and the coachee sometimes is afraid that you are internal coach. What if I share something with you and you tell my boss? Right? Or you tell someone in your organization and then someone else tells my boss or whatever. So there's this always kind of, you don't feel safe or strict if it goes into something quite confidential. Right? So if you have an external coach, it is the same thing. External coach actually don't know anything about your organization. And may spend more time trying to understand the contextual meaning. But at the same time, because the coach is external, so the external coach is unlikely to go around talking about what they have said. So there's the sense of detachment also. So so back to the internal and external coaching, both has got pros and cons. And really depends.
CJ,
Yes.
when it comes to different generation, does this coaching model, coaching style, slides,
The model is the same. The styles may vary, right? So the styles vary in the sense where for the older generation sometimes would like to be respected for their experience, their expertise, and like to share what they think they know. The younger generation tend, again, does not apply to every single one, tend to be more impatient. So they tend to challenge the coach and sometimes even ask the coach, why don't you tell me what to do? And after the coach, if the coach would tell the younger generation what to do, then generation actually counter back and say, but it won't work. Right, so, count people up. that is the kind of situation. But generally, the structure is about the same. Right, so it's how you control the pace and how to raise questions to get people to think about how they can arrive at what they feel is a good solution. Right, second. Yeah. The last one is the way forward. Again, coaching is all about taking actions. It's not just about talking nicely only. We want to see actions. And coaching is actually done over many sessions. It's not just like I coach you for 1 hour and end of story. Usually there'll be multiple times. Whether it's way forward, as in what's a follow-up action over here, right? The previous model that we have in terms of how we intend to move forward now. This can be reviewed, can be shared, can be made to be held accountable in the next session. So the first session is, okay, so what do you want to do? Okay, I want to do 1, 2, 5. The next session I see you, so what would you like to discuss? And by the way, how have you been doing for your follow-up action? Are they successful, unsuccessful, still struggling, what? So this is, we would like to hold group accountable for the actions that they say they'll take. And in terms of actions, especially for a smaller, more frequent type of coaching, it can be small actions. It doesn't have to be very big action, right? So it can be anything that can be made into a next step. It doesn't have to be something that takes years to implement. Something short and manageable that we can see that people can actually do. Right, so what makes a good coach in asking questions? Number one, be genuinely curious. We talked about that in active listening yesterday. We like to develop some insights. What is the person actually thinking? What is the kind of situation the person is facing? And of course, be a good listener. So there's some key questions. It's not rocket science, just be there with the person, be present. So in terms of the actual questions, and this chunk of theory over here, we'll go through this and then we'll do the practice, right? Over here, it may be a bit abstract, we'll have the practice and we'll try to relate to what we're saying over here. This is structure, it looks very complicated, and this is the simplified version. So, we can split it into two. We talk about asking questions. You have open questions, and you have closed questions. So open questions and closed questions, right? So what is closed questions? Any suggestions? What do you mean by closed questions? Yes. No. Sometimes can be a choice. Right? Yeah, sometimes we always ask our kids, do you want to do your homework now or you want to do it after dinner? Either way, you have to do it. It's a choice. No, later. Okay. Yes, no, can be a choice, and sometimes really, and sometimes it's like, I don't know. Sometimes, not all closed questions the person knows the answer, so can you go? these are the various possible answers. So, what are open questions? Open questions, of course, it's beyond the yes, no, and choices. Open questions basically is what we call 5W, 5 and 1 H. Yeah, you let us back on this one H. Yeah. When you start with this, what we call the part of this 1H, usually leads to the open question. So this is open and closed questions. Now, how much open questions and how much closed questions should you use in terms of percentage-wise in a coaching conversation? You get 100% of questions. What is the percentage you should allocate for open questions, and what is the percentage you should allocate for closed questions? The more open. Why more open? It is for the fun.
Because we don't know for sure. Let
Yes.
them tell us what is it called.
Yes. Let them talk more, right? So closed questions, we're not saying closed questions are bad. Closed questions are important. Closed questions allows you to gain confirmation, allows you to understand what they are really thinking. That's good. The question is, open questions allow the other person to talk more, elaborate more, give you more information. Right? If you ask only closed questions, you are going to have a lot of questions and have very little information. So it's better to have more of open questions. Some people will say 80% open questions, 20% closed questions. It's a rough gauge. It's not like dialect must follow like a rough gauge. So this is open and closed questions that handles the top part. Now, what about the things in the middle? See, the thing here is called powerful questions. You mentioned about powerful questions. So what are powerful questions? The information here, the ones on the left and right? So if you are looking at info over here, left and right, basically those are information for us, the coach, to understand. The ones in the middle are the questions for the coachee to think and reflect. So these are powerful questions. I'm not asking so that I know. Right? I'm asking so that you can reflect, you can think about it, and you can make a better decision. Right? For you to reflect. So things like, let's say something like weight loss. For some reason, when we do coaching practice, a lot of people say, I want to go for weight loss. What is it that you want to discuss today? Weight loss. Just do that for the fun part. So we do weight loss. If you ask things like, so far what have you done for your weight loss? That one, in a way, is more like for the coach to know what's going on. If you want to ask something that is more reflective, you can say something like, so why is it important for you to go for weight loss? Why is it important for you to go for weight loss? So it's for the person to reflect. It's not for me to know, but it's for you to reflect. Right? It can be, I buy a very nice dress. For some other things, it can be health reasons or for other aspects. So you can ask things to really find out what is the thing that they could be considering, why is it important to them, what are the further insights they can develop on themselves. So this is just to explain this whole diagram over here. So like I said earlier, you got open questions to gain information, explore possibilities, closed questions to gain agreement and confirm. Open and closed questions. On top of that, if you want to have a bit more variation, this is open and closed, simple. More variation can be clarifying. Clarifying is a kind of closed question that you make a choice. Is A more important or B more important? Is A better or B better? Right? If given a choice, you choose A or B. Right? So it's a choice, kind of closed question. Reframing question is an open question with additional conditions, meaning it usually starts with the word if. if you have all the money in the world, what would you do? Right? If you got time, how would you proceed? So it starts with if, and then usually with an open question. And the reason we use if is because we are just imagining the future, right? We can, instead of us telling them, why don't you do this and this? We actually ask the question, if this were to happen, what would you do? Right, so we create a precondition and get the person to think about the precondition and make the commitment what they want to do. And so it's up to them. This is what we call reframing question using the word if. And a lot of times, coaching questions are combined questions, combination questions. So things like, what areas do you think would you like to be improved? Why are this important? What else needs to be improved? So this is this combination. I ask one question and then I can follow up with different variation, different combination, just to expand and going deeper on the question. Right? It can be a very general one. Okay, so what would you like to improve? Okay, why? And what else? Right? Or even I can even challenge the other person. What will happen if nothing improves? So these are things I can design the different questions. So having said all that, no theory, it's not fun. The fun part comes here. Case one, right? The case of this particular person. So you have a staff now who has been working for you for close to 6 months, self-learner, and takes initiative in solving problems. Doesn't seem to want to work overtime or through the weekends and is resistant towards your instructions. He also does not seem to care about pay raise or job promotion. Now, we can set a scenario. We didn't set a scenario here. The scenario is now you have a major project and you need this guy to be part of the team, and there is likely to be a lot of overtime and weekends work. That's foreseeable. And this guy is really looking at work-life balance. And so this guy, the situation is, this upcoming project, and for a period of the next 6 months for the project, there will be lots of overtime and weekends work. And you've got to coach this person. Okay? So, can we now, again, we've got 8 people. Can we now go into A and B partnership? So can everyone grab a partner? Can be from the same company, can be from a different company, it's up to you. So everyone got a partner? Everyone got a partner? Okay, great. Up to you. No restriction this time. Yesterday for listening, it's better to have different people from different cultures and company, because for the sake of listening skills. This one doesn't really matter because it's a different case. Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether it's same company, same culture, doesn't matter. Okay, so if you have your partner in the next 10 minutes, okay, because of practice and time constraints, we are only going to give you 10 minutes. Right? Okay, but who's going to be A and who's going to be B? Between the two of you, who are going to be A and B? Who is A, who is B? I say later. Pick A and B first. Okay, so A will coach B. Okay, so A, you are the manager, right? So B will be this young guy, Leonard, right? Like I said, there's this upcoming project. This is the situation, background of the person. The project is 6 months, 6 months long for the next 6 months. There will be lots of weekend spurts. There will be overtime, lots of overtime. And this is one guy that probably don't like that. He's not going to like that. But just to give you a clue, there are other qualities that may show that this person may actually like the project, or may actually be excited about the project, or at least very much motivated to do the project. Right? So it depends on how you look at it. So the purpose is, since the project is upcoming, you'd like to coach this person so that he is a little bit more motivated to to do the project properly, the 6 months cycle. Right, so this is the purpose. What is important is you don't tell the person what to do. Right, you don't give any advice. You don't give. You don't tell. You ask questions to find out what is he or she thinking, and let the person come to a conclusion. You can share personal experience, but don't use that as an instruction to follow your past experience. Make sense? Right, so 10 minutes, I'm going to time. Yeah. Again, reluctant or not is also an assumption, because there are certain parts that he's reluctant, there could be certain parts that he's looking forward. Right, the overtime part, from this case, is reluctant. But could there be something that this person is actually looking forward? It's up to the coach to find out. Right, so 10 minutes, I'm going to start, and 10 minutes starts now.